The Senate will come to order. I ask everyone present to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. In the absence of clergy, let us bow our heads in a moment of silent reflection or prayer. Reading of the journal.
In Senate, Monday, January 10th, 2022, the Senate met pursuant to adjournment. The journal of Friday, January 7th, 2022 was read and approved. On motion, the Senate adjourned.
Without objection, the journal stands approved as read. Presentations of petitions, messages from the Assembly. Secretary will read.
Senator Gorin moves to discharge from the Committee on Rules. Assembly Bill number 8591 is substituted for the identical Senate Bill 7623A, third reading, calendar 12.
So ordered. Messages from the Governor. Reports of standing committees. Report of select committees. Communications and reports from state officers. Motions and resolutions. Senator Gianaris.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to adopt the resolution calendar.
All in favor of adopting the resolution calendar, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The resolution calendar is adopted.
Please take up the reading of the calendar.
The Secretary will read.
Calendar number 12, Assembly number 8591 by Assemblymember Thiel, an act to amend Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart-Cousins, White.
Senator Gorin to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. This legislation, on just a temporary basis, will give our school districts, our towns, cities, villages, the options to hold remote meetings pursuant to the governor's orders. We have to face reality that with Omicron, this virus is spreading faster than it ever has before. And we have situations now where our school boards and our municipalities may not even have quorums to operate. So this is just an emergency measure as we get through this period, which I hope ends as quickly as possible. And yes, it does also apply to the state legislature. And then we, pursuant to our own rules, may meet remotely. The purpose of that is that, again, with Omicron, you could have members of the state legislature who will not be able to be present, perhaps for a month or more, simply because either their health is impacted or they're required to quarantine because of a contact they may have. And that means that the people that we represent will not have their voices heard on so many important matters that will be coming before this legislature. Now, I do believe, as it relates to government and local governments or municipalities, that we should be looking at other ways to take advantage of this technology that we have so that when we move out of this COVID situation, we can enhance public participation. Meetings can be held in town hall with remote opportunities as well. So again, this is a temporary measure, and I vote in the affirmative, Madam President.
Senator Gorin to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Helming to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to explain my vote in opposition to this legislation. Madam President, I am voting no because it is my strongly held belief that the ability for a public body, such as a school board, a local town board, village board, city council, the decision whether or not to host a remote meeting should not be tied directly or specifically to the governor's state of emergency declaration. These bodies and the people who elect these bodies to serve should have the ability to make these decisions independent of the governor's actions. For these reasons, I am voting in the negative. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Helming to be recorded in the negative. Senator Hoylman to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I want to thank Senator Gorin for this important piece of legislation and for his leadership on it. You know, when the pandemic made it unsafe to conduct public business in person, New York City community boards, many of which I represent, 6 to be exact, and many other public bodies successfully transitioned to video conferencing software to host their meetings. In the process, these public bodies have demonstrated how useful these tools are for all who wish to participate in our democracy. We saw participation levels, diversity and participation increase in these important deliberative bodies. Parents with children who might not otherwise have been able to take hours off of their evenings at community board meetings before now, Zoom in to discuss local concern. Those with disabilities and mobility issues who have previously struggled to get around town to a church basement or a high school cafeteria now have the opportunity to easily attend public meetings to have their voices heard. Video conferencing has been a boon to our democracy and empowered countless New Yorkers to participate in their communities more fully. And while these incredible benefits have helped so many, the primary goal has been to keep New Yorkers healthy during this deadly pandemic. With the statute enabling these remote meetings expiring on June 15th, something had to be done. Senator Gorin's bill to extend those important provisions and tie them to the current state of emergency declaration is going to help New Yorkers stay safe while we experience this ongoing surge of Omicron. This will allow remote options to continue as long as public health conditions require such options to exist. As new technologies emerge to improve the way we communicate and interact as a society, we must adapt and ensure our statutes reflect the new reality. The benefits we have seen from allowing video conferencing have been critical during this pandemic, but could continue to benefit New Yorkers long after the pandemic is a distant memory. I believe that we should provide a long-term solution for public bodies consisting of volunteer officials to continue to use video conferencing, and I've introduced legislation to permanently empower New York City community boards and other voluntary organizations to continue to use video conferencing. I vote aye, Madam President.
Senator Hoylman to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
In relation to calendar 12, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Galvin, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rath, Sereno, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 48, nays 15.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 17, Senate Print 7689 by Senator Hinchey, enactment of the Public Service Law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as a chapter of the law of 2021.
Hold the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Senator Helming to explain her vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to explain my vote in favor of this legislation. While I voted against the original bill, I believe that my concerns and the concerns of local broadband developers have been addressed. This is definitely a step in the right direction. However, if we truly want to expand services to more areas of the state, this body needs to take at least a second step. And that second step, in my opinion, is passing Senate Bill 2659, which repeals the fiber optic tax. That tax, if you recall, was incorporated into the state budget by our former governor. By eliminating the fiber optic tax, we can reduce the cost of broadband build-outs and encourage the further expansion of broadband service to every single area of New York State. Now, many times on this floor, you have heard me talk about the concerns of rural New Yorkers. But the truth is, we have broadband and also cellular dead zones in many of our cities and suburban areas, as well as our rural communities. My bill, Senate Bill 2659, the fiber optic tax repeal legislation, was introduced in July of 2020. It's been sitting in the Transportation Committee for 18 months. Everyone in this body understands the importance of providing equitable broadband services to all New Yorkers. We all want to improve and grow access for individuals, businesses, and students for health, education, and economic reasons. That's why I urge the majority and the Chair of Transportation to bring S 2659 to this body for a vote. Let's repeal the fiber optic tax and expand broadband services. I vote aye on this amended legislation.
Senator Helming to be recorded in the affirmative. Senator Steck to explain his vote.
Thank you, Madam President. I, too, rise to in support of this amendment. However, I was in the affirmative on the original bill because I feel that not only what we're doing here today, but more is required to facilitate pole erection and replacement on new poles. That process needs to be streamlined. I think that this bill still allows for that process to happen, but more needs to be done. And my colleague just mentioned one important aspect I want to reiterate, and we talked about this in the budget on debate last year, that the fiber tax, which was enacted in the 2019 budget, is an impediment on building out the rest of broadband throughout the rural parts of New York State. We are not all at 99%, as the previous governor had touted on his way out the door, and more work needs to be done. I think it's important to point out to this body that while I've heard from many fiber suppliers that they are not building out because of the fiber tax, in the 3 years since we enacted that in the 2019 budget, only $8 million has been collected, $8 million with an M. So it's not a big revenue generator, but it is preventing. We've put in $500 million in the first round of broadband programs, which were built out, and unfortunately a lot of that money did go to make ready and pole replacement, which is what this bill is talking about. But the other aspect that we're falling short on is that we have a lot of fiber optic costs that are turning away our companies wanting to build out the rural parts of the state. And $8 million on a $500 million investment that the taxpayer made, Governor Hochul in her State of the State mentioned that she wants to put an additional $1 billion, and I applaud that we need to finish the job. So I applaud the governor for wanting to move this forward. But again, this $8 million over 3 years that we've collected is enough right now where it is preventing fiber suppliers from building out in the rural parts of the state. So I would encourage, there's a few bills out there that would get this done. Senator Helming just mentioned hers. But that, and another thing that is not in legislation, but the Senate should be aware of, is that recently on its own, without legislation, the Department of Transportation has required broadband suppliers to perform surveys on all state highways when they're, not the cable companies, not the power companies, not the phone companies, but fiber optic companies that are laying the broadband, they're required to survey for DOT where they're building out. And that is another significant impediment to building out. So while this bill and this chapter amendment is a step in the right direction, there's two more pieces of the puzzle that absolutely have to be addressed. The fiber tax, which was done in the budget and has only raised $8 million, and the survey costs, which those two things are preventing investment in our broadband. So with that, I will support this bill, but again, I encourage the body to look for more ways to continue to move this ball forward. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Steck to be recorded in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 19, Senate Print 7691 by Senator Mayer, enactment of the county law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the law of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ork, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 21, Senate Print 7693 by Senator Harkam, enactment of the mental hygiene law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the law of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ork, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 26, Senate Print 7698 by Senator Comrie, enactment of real property actions and proceedings law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the law of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ork, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 26, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Borrello, Boyle, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Martucci, Matera, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Palumbo, Rath, Ritchie, Sereno, Steck, Tedisco, and White. Ayes 43, nays 20.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 32, Senate Print 7704 by Senator Breslin, an act to amend the insurance law.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 33, Senate Print 7705 by Senator Hoylman.
Laid aside.
Calendar number 36, Senate Print 7708 by Senator Rivera, an act to amend the public health law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
Ayes 63.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 37, Senate Print 7709 by Senator Kaminsky, an act to amend the chapter of the laws of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 37, vote in the negative, Senator Akshar, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed.
Calendar number 39, Senate Print 7711 by Senator Parker, an act to amend the chapter of the laws of 2021.
Read the last section.
Section 2, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the laws of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to, in relation to calendar number 39, vote in negative, Senator Ort, ayes 62, nays 1.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's calendar.
Let's take up the controversial calendar at this time.
The secretary will ring the bell. Secretary will read.
Calendar number 33, Senate Print 7705 by Senator Hoylman, an act to amend the penal law.
Senator Lanza, why do you rise?
Madam President, I believe there's an amendment at the desk. I waive the reading of that amendment and ask that you recognize Senator Tedisco to be heard.
Thank you, Senator Lanza. Upon review of the amendment in accordance with Rule 6, Section 4B, I rule it non-germane and out of order at this time.
Accordingly, Madam President, I appeal the ruling of the chair and ask that Senator Tedisco be recognized.
The appeal has been made and recognized, and Senator Tedisco may be heard. Senator Tedisco.
Thank you, Madam President, for recognizing me. As I put forth this amendment, I'd just like to mention to those members on the other side of the aisle who are not in the room today for the obvious reasons, but who are watching, that the contents of this amendment is actually a bill. It's a piece of legislation. It's a piece of reform legislation. In the Senate, it's S01521. In the Assembly, it's A1705, and it's bipartisan. It's sponsored by Republicans, and it's sponsored by Democrats, because we're all one when it comes to public safety. The bill for reform that is before you right now relates to reforming an agenda that has failed miserably over the last 3 years, that has emanated from the other side of the aisle. And that's just a fact. It can't be refuted. It can't be refuted because as I pick up these articles from, well, locally it's the Times-Union, it's the Gazette, there's the Democratic Chronicle. 319,000 New Yorkers walked out of the state of New York in this past census year, voted with their feet. New York, of the 50 states in the nation, was #1 in out-migration, irrefutable, at the bottom of the list in population growth. You don't have an agenda that's working for the people of your state when year after year after year, and as the Time-Union says this time around, from July 20th to July 2021, New York's population fell by 319,000 people, the largest numeric decline of any state in the country, according to the Census Bureau estimates. Now, there's a lot of parts of why your agenda has failed over the last 3 years, and I imagine it's going to continue to fail. But this addresses, this amendment, the most important failure that's taken place. I don't know about the calls you're getting in your office or what you're seeing on your social websites. People are afraid to leave their homes. They're afraid to walk the streets. They're certainly afraid to visit the big city of New York City. They're afraid to go to the grocery store. And it's not the pandemic, and it's not the weather in New York. This has been happening before the pandemic ever took place, this exodus. And you know what? There was a deep dive just before the pandemic looking at why we were number one in outmigration in around 2019. 15% of the population, number one in outmigration, who left, you know where they went? New Jersey. My colleagues in the citizenry watching, New Jersey's not exactly the sunny, balmy place in the Northeast. Nobody's, well, I shouldn't say nobody. The reason why they're leaving, and the most important part of this reform, relates to why everything else pales in its sight, and it's public safety. You passed the so-called criminal justice reform cash bail bill. Now, I looked in the dictionary. Reform means to make something better and work more effectively. There's another word which really relates to what you've done. It's deform. You've deformed public safety in New York State. It's a revolving door of danger and disaster. It's a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a catch and release. It's endangering the very individuals which you made the argument for that we need these reforms. You said individuals in low-income and minority neighborhoods need this because they're being discriminated against. You know who's being discriminated against? The people who are breaking the law from those neighborhoods who judges have to release because you took all discretion away from them. Unfortunately, there are high levels of crime in neighborhoods with minorities and low-income individuals. And they're going back to those neighborhoods and innocent, honest, law-abiding citizens, which you said you were going to protect and make justice be equal because of this reform you've put forth. Now, the way it happened is you went behind closed doors, you went in secret, law enforcement, the judiciary, our district attorneys, you gave them lip service, the professionals. I got a question for you. I got a question for the other side of the aisle as I present this amendment. The one voice from one political affiliation, from one region of the state, that's you, who control the Senate, the Assembly, and the governor's office. I want to ask you this question. 319,000 people left the state. When enough people leave the state of New York, go to that U-Haul, who's happens to doing very well as a business, one of the top businesses now because they're really using those U-Hauls. When those people, enough of them, go to U-Haul, pack up those trucks, and leave the state of New York, who is going to pay for a $212 billion budget, the infrastructure, education, health care, the disabled, the mental health needs that we have, all the programs built into that? You know who's going to be left? You know what the statistics show? We have a large increase percentage of seniors in New York State. And we're lower expectations for births. Why? Because young people and their families are leaving the state of New York. Young people and their families are not coming to the state of New York because you're not incentivizing them to come. I want to ask you, how are you going to pay for all those services when year after year we're number one in outmigration? Now let's look what happened in regards to that. It's not only that they've left. We're one of 7 states because of that outmigration who lost another representative in Washington. I hear on this floor many times, why don't we bring home the bacon? Why aren't our congressmen bringing home money? Why? where we're losing representation because we're losing population, because people are voting with their feet. They're afraid. It's the top issue. Everything pales when you neglect public safety. We're behind Florida now. We were number 3 in population. We're number 4 now. Add to that this. I think my colleagues understand what this is, but maybe the viewers don't understand when I say this. We are number 1 in Tax Freedom Day in New York State. Number 1. Add to this, all the population. We're number 1 in Tax Freedom Day. You know what Tax Freedom Day is? It's the middle of May for anybody and everybody who works in New York State, who actually takes $1 home to pay their mortgage, pay their car payments, pay their tuition, put food on their table. January, February, March, April, May. That's 5 months of socialization. 5 months of the state of New York taking their tax dollars before they let them take one tax dollar home. I don't think that's a good record. That might have something to do with U-Haul doing so well and people walking out of the state of New York. Look, if this continues, if your agenda continues, if you don't make it safer and don't support this amendment to do it, and I'll explain it, it's pretty simple right now. We're not going to be the Empire State. We are moving towards the empty state. People are leaving in groves. It's not I love New York anymore. It's I leave New York or I left New York. We do love New York. We want it to be a better place. But the agenda has to change. Now, Governor Hochul, I'm not the only one that mentioned 319,000 people leaving the state. She mentioned it in her State of the State message. She also touched public safety, but she really didn't give you an answer. I'm going to give you an answer. Give discretion back to judges. Give discretion back to judges. Give discretion back to judges to consider the individuals before them being a danger to themselves or others in their community. Do I say give back the discretion they had before? Look, I know the audience I'm talking to. I know you're never going to support that. But this makes eminent common sense. And let me tell you the 3 areas that it deals with. Under the present circumstances, someone breaks the law. Now, you've got a whole bunch of crimes now which you classify as not violent. You know, home break-ins, burglaries, carjackings. Okay, you've done that. But if somebody comes before a judge, and we allow the judge, this is one of the areas to give them discretion, is able to look in that person's background, and they have a serious felony, not an arrest, a conviction, and paid a penalty for a serious violent felony, the judge should have the ability to consider whether they're a danger to themselves or others and confine them, cash bail, get them off the streets. 2 other areas, this bill would give them the opportunity to have consideration if they're a danger to themselves or others. You know, we're giving them one bite at the apple. They're coming before the judge's hands are tied, they're released. 3,500 individuals just over last year recommitted serious crimes. 3,500. Now, it's many more because our law enforcement individuals can only catch maybe 50, 60, 70% of those who break the law. So it's above 3,500. As the good Senator Ort, our leader, says, you guys have the habit of saying, if it impacts one person's life, this impacted 3,500 individuals' lives and their families. And of course, above that, because there's a lot more people who broke the law that they probably didn't catch. This bill says this reform. If we give you a bite at the apple, we give you a ticket, we let you go, no cash bail, you have a timetable to show up, and you break the law again, why should not the judge have a discretion in that particular case to say, we gave you a chance, look at the case, consider whether they're a danger to themselves or others, and say cash bail, we're going to confine you. The third case is this. We've let people go. Thanks for the applause, Lance. We've let people go. And what have they done? They have run. Now, here's what's happening. Our law enforcement officials who arrested these people, who are limited in case, and don't forget about the fact that you want to unfund the police. Oh, don't tell me you didn't mean it. You broke it. It's yours now, okay? You want to diminish the men and women out there, but yet you release these people where they have to chase the individuals they arrested once and are breaking the law again, and then you have to chase them because they're running, because they know if they run, many times when they come back, they're released again. In cases where you've given them that responsibility to come and they run, why shouldn't the judge have the opportunity to consider the fact that you'll be a danger to yourself or a danger to others? In those three limited areas, if I had my druthers, would I repeal and bring the professionals in? Listen, I'm not against criminal justice reform. I think it's a good idea to do the best we can for our victims and to be fair to those who are alleged predators and criminals. But this is not working. You can't deny it. 3,500 individuals recommitted crimes. People are afraid to walk the streets. I'm sure they're calling your office like they're calling my office. Madam President and my colleagues, if you've got a better idea to this to reform it, I'd love to vote for it. But as it is right now, it's failing miserably. I move the amendment and I ask for your consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. I want to remind the House that the vote is on the procedures of the House and the ruling of the chair. Those in favor of overruling the chair signify by saying aye.
President, we have agreed to waive the showing of hands and record each member of the minority in the affirmative as we have throughout the pandemic.
Without objection, so ordered. Announce the results.
Ayes 20.
The ruling of the chair stands and the bill in chief is before the House. The secretary will read.
Calendar number 33, Senate Print 7705 by Senator Hoylman, an act to amend the penal law.
Read the last section.
Section 3, this act shall take effect on the same date and in the same manner as the chapter of the law of 2021.
Call the roll.
Adabo, Gianaris, Kruger, Ort, Stewart, Cousins, White.
Announce the results.
In relation to calendar number 33, those senators voted in the negative are Senators Akshar, Varela, Gallivan, Griffo, Helming, Jordan, Lanza, Oberacker, O'Mara, Ort, Rath, Ritchie, Steck, and Tedisco. Ayes 49, nays 14.
The bill is passed. Senator Gianaris, that completes the reading of today's controversial calendar.
Is there any further business at the desk?
There is no further business at the desk.
Move to adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, January 12th at 11 a.m.
On motion, the Senate stands adjourned until Wednesday, January 12th at 11 a.m.